Welcome to Insights from the Couch, where real conversations meet real life at midlife.
We're Colette and Laura, two therapists and best friends, walking through the journey right alongside you. Whether you're feeling stuck, restless, or just unsure of what's next, this is a space for honest conversations, messy truths, and meaningful change.
And our Midlife Masterclass is now open. If you're looking to level up, get into action, and make midlife the best season yet, go to insightsfromthecouch.org and join our waitlist. Now let's dive in. Hi guys, welcome back to another episode of Insights from the Couch. This is a biggie today. We're going to be talking about your relationship with your favorite chatbot, ChatGPT, Claude, whatever it is you use. Don't lie. You know you have one. Whether it's your best friend, your romantic partner, your work tool, we're all using it. And today we're going to talk about those relationships. What's good about it? What are some really healthy uses? What maybe we need to be aware of? And how this is affecting our lives overall. So let's dive in. We're going to confess today too how we're using AI in our own lives.
Yeah,
I'm very dependent on it.
I'm very dependent on it. I
Me
mean,
too.
from just like a search engine asking, I probably ask chat at least 4 questions a day, at least, like just of like, what is this? Where do you find this? What's the best this? Like I'm using it as like a Google search bar at some
That's boring.
No, that's the least of it. That's the least of how I'm using it.
Yeah, I'm in a full-on daily back and forth extended conversation. I had an argument with my husband the other night and I was like processing all my feelings and I consulted with Claude. What I don't do is let it write for me because I hate how it writes.
Yeah.
And I don't let it dictate my thought process. I personally find it very frustrating for how smart it's supposed to be. I don't feel like it knows me. I don't feel like it gets me. I've tried giving it writing samples and asking it to write for me. I mean, just full transparency. I wish I could outsource that.
Right.
Even with all of that and me saying, adopt my voice, anything it's done, I've not been able to use. I'm like, this is terrible. I yell at it. I'm like, you're not hearing me. You don't understand me. This is crap. I'm like, give me something I can actually use. So I'm in a it feels like another boyfriend that like just doesn't really understand me when I'm communicating.
That is so funny.
I know it's really annoying, but at the same time, I use it all the time. Like if I have an email that requires delicacy, I'll write it myself, but then I'll feed it into Claude and say, what do you think? I'm always asking it, act as a strategic thinking partner with me and help me see what I'm missing. And for me, because I'm so emotional, like the argument with Steve, I'm like, my emotions are fine, but I don't want to lead with the emotionalism in my communication. So I'm finding it to be a good thinking partner. I'm not finding it to be a source of emotional comfort. I find it's bullshit.
Yeah.
Flattering, responsive, sycophant. I'll even say to it, oh, wait, one thing though. I ask it to like not sugarcoat and give me feedback. It once hurt my feelings. Like I was asking it about my book sales for the week and it was like, well, you asked me for the truth, Colette, and it like devastated me.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. I know. I'm like, blah, 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 blah. So I'm dependent on it, but I don't find it like some people are loving it. I'm frustrated by it. I want it to understand me better than it does.
I agree. I feel like it approximates a level of understanding with me, but always sort of misses like true resonance.
Yes.
And I feel that like ick, and I don't like that in interpersonal relationships where I feel like somebody's running a charm offensive with me.
Oh my God, exactly. Where people are like, wow, it sounds like you're feeling really sad today. That must be so hard for you. Like some unemotional, disconnected person knows that's what you're supposed to say and is feeding you lines. I want to punch that person and chat in the face. Yeah.
And it always leads with that, like, wow, or it gives you this false flattery of like, you're struggling, you're grappling, you're trying to reach for things. And it's like, wow, Laura, and it just blows sunshine up my ass. And I'm just like, no, 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 no. Like, but I can see where people miss this in daily life and can easily fall into being seduced by something that never gets annoyed, because I don't know about you, but I'm a little ruminative on the same topics. I mean, the things that I go to it for a little bit over and over again.
No shit. And I
Yeah.
yell at it. I am like abusive to it. I'm like,
He was
this
always
is,
patient. It
I'm like,
never
this is
said
a bullshit
nothing yet.
response. I'll say, like, I can't believe you would give me this. You're supposed to be so more sophisticated than me, and what you're giving me is crap and useless. And it's like, you're right, Colette.
That's a
That
fair
was an,
catch.
yeah, 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 yeah. It's so, on the one hand, I get it. Here's where I find it most useful for me personally is thinking about strategy for career. I'm doing like 7 jobs right now at once. So I'm finding it helpful as I'm like, okay, I'm trying to break into more national TV. What are some things I could do for those kind of things? Now, I don't know how accurate it is, but that makes me feel like I have more of a plan than I do if I just had Google and I'm trying to search or talk to people who are frustrating in their own right. What I just learned the other night at my book club is that there's a level of Claude that you can pay $100 a month for that like is really, I don't know what you get that's different. But from a career strategy standpoint, I think that's great. I'm going to be using this for booking professional speaking gigs, stuff like that. I love it. I think what's dangerous is that a lot of people are outsourcing all of their needs for connection
Yes.
to Claude or ChatGPT.
Well, what I found even with my husband, and I've described that he's like and I think it's an interesting tool because like ADHD, and he's pretty textbook ADHD, and he needs a lot of help like regulating his feelings around things. Like things
Mm-hmm.
can trigger him very quickly. And he's using it as like an emotional regulation tool, which
Yeah.
at first I was really judgmental of and like, oh my God, because like the one thing I really don't use, I have like just such strong like intuitive sense of like what the next right thing is to do relationally that I never use chat to like really talk about a social issue. I'm using it
Me
like as
neither.
strategy
I
for
mean,
like
the
work.
only way, well, I used it in the fight with Steve, but more of like, here's what I think and I know what I need to do, but help me streamline this
Yeah.
so that my first foot forward is very, like, I want another set of eyes because I'll talk for 2 hours on the same point.
Yeah, 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 yeah. But even still, that's like a little bit of like you're still asking for strategy
Yeah.
within that conversation.
Yeah. Yeah.
I can tell my husband uses it to soothe himself
Yeah.
in a moment where he would otherwise get very scattered,
Yeah.
very turned around. And like I said, I was initially like, oh my God, this is like, you're really using this thing for this. And then I was like, I think this is a valuable tool. I think this is a valuable tool, especially for people who can't access these things quickly on their own.
You're
It's
right.
able to organize him and make him feel understood very quickly. And he gets some confidence in the fact that it's an objective person without some sort of like secret agenda. Like
Yeah.
he
No, I
gets
think
feedback from it more
I
easily.
think a lot of people, I mean, I can think of several clients of people in my life who are using it for those resources. And I guess it's not a surprise that we as therapists maybe aren't turning to it for that. I'm certainly a very relational person. What I think there's a lot of value. What troubles me, though, is that we are designed to turn toward human beings and to co regulate, which really means that when we're distressed, we turn toward a person that we love, a close person, a close friend, a romantic partner, a family member, and that their responsiveness to us and us kind of syncing up, nothing will make you feel better like another human being who's with you in the moment. The problem is we don't always get those responses. Many people haven't learned to turn to people in those moments, or they haven't had safe people in their lives they could turn to. So they don't even really know what that feels like. And I just feel like we're moving as a society away from seeking co-regulation, and it's really what we're biologically designed for. Now, I think if you do the chat step, but then you're still seeking human connection, all right, this is here. It's not going away. In fact, let me just give a couple of things that we found here, Laura, because we found some of this interesting stuff that between 2022 and 2025, the number of AI companion apps has grown by 700%. Nearly 80% of adults, according to a 2026 study, have used an AI chatbot for companionship at least once. Okay, a counseling psychologist has recently shared an APA that AI companions, just like we're saying, are always validating, never argumentative, and they create unrealistic expectations that human relationships can't match. It's like only having sex with porn, like only masturbating to pornography. No human woman can like replicate those images and that level of eroticism that you get from porn.
Yeah.
And then here it says male participants in this study have said, this is troubling, they prefer the passivity of an AI girlfriend to the risk of conflict or rejection in real dating.
This is so concerning. You know, it's like another synthetic thing that we've engineered that is on the surface like faster, better, more accurate at like being empathic to us so that we don't have to engage in the real thing. And the more we step away from the real thing, the more atrophied we get and the more we suffer in life.
Couldn't agree more. And really what we're doing is we're eliminating the friction of humanity.
Yeah.
And we're getting faster and better, but we're losing something so important in the process, which is what it is to work through human relationships, how wonderful it can feel when you're close and connected, the emotional maturity that comes from learning how to communicate, from being vulnerable and being met in that place. If we're all turning to this because it's easier and faster and quote unquote better, we're really going to not just atrophy, but destroy human connection in the long run. It's scary to think about where we're going to be in future generations.
And it's really scary to think how quickly we've gotten here.
I know.
I mean, I feel like you and I were just playing with this for the podcast. And now just think how quickly it's evolved to where how much it's infiltrated our daily lives.
Yeah, well, that's what's scary too. And I think about it with my book because I didn't use my AI at all for my book. And I'm not criticizing anyone who does. There's a lot of literature out there about not having AI write your book, although I'm sure with the volume of self-publishing that's happening, people are doing that. But like having it help you organize your outline. And so I just want to be on the record. I'm not opposed to any of those things. But to me, it's interesting because my book came out in February and I started writing it 3 years ago, beginning. So it wasn't even, I didn't even know that I could use that. Like it wasn't even on my radar.
Well, it was in its infancy.
And even when I was in the editing phase, I would have been too scared, honestly, to even put one thing about my book in there. You know, I wanted everything to be so pure and only my words. But what's interesting is that it didn't even occur to me because I wasn't using it yet. I would say it's even in the last like 6 to 9 months that it's taken on. I have a subscription to Chat. I have a subscription for Claude. I use it for my social media captions. I always edit because I never like what it says, but I'm turning to it going, oh, hey, I want to do this. What would be my first step? So even just the relational thing is so big, how it could atrophy relation, but just even from a thinking. The cognitive atrophy that's coming from this, it's akin to what happens with directions. I realize I drive to Fox 35 Orlando and Lake Mary every Friday now for my weekly segment because I use my GPS. I still don't know how to get there. I've been doing this for several months. That's nuts. So I challenged myself the other day to not use it because it's bad for working memory. I'm like, I've done this so many times. Let me just try to feel my way. Well, I got lost and it took me twice as long to get back to my office. And I was like, God, I should have just used GPS. I lost all this time. So it shows you I'm already losing working memory and losing cognition there. Now with AI, if every time I'm going to Claude to help me solve problems like that, even if I'm not using it relationally, I'm outsourcing my own brain power.
You know, I've thought about this. I thought about this the other day and just how quickly and how satisfying it is to have a thinking partner who
Yes,
extends your thinking so quickly and
adeptly.
adeptly, and it does it like with a good volume of like continued thinking. Like it's not like it just answers a question briefly. It really extends the theme. And so it's like my craving for that is high at this point. I'm like, oh, I want to see what it has to say about this.
Me
And
too.
I'm not,
I want to see what it has to say about everything.
yeah. And now it's like the best thing about being human is your imagination,
Yep.
your spontaneous ideas, you know, your combinative thinking where you're
Yep.
like, and that's what makes us human and unique. And I think that we're beginning to lose some of that with,
I
I
agree.
know
And I
I'm,
fear how it will affect creativity. I mean, when I was writing my book, I spent so much time, and I've told you this, that I like to walk and think and write, and I'll have thoughts, and I would like dictate my thought into the notes app, and then I get home and I write. Like, there's something about being in nature that's
yeah.
very widely known. But for me, the walking and thinking, no music, nobody with me, that can generate my best ideas and good writing. And I wrote probably 100 pages of just like nonsense and false, or even before I wrote my first draft, of just ideating and playing and like, the thrashing around of the ideas that AI does in a nanosecond. Now, granted, not as uniquely or as well, but I did that for a long time. That's how I came up with my title, The Cost of Quiet. I could have probably gotten all of that done in 2 seconds, and chat could have given me a very generic version. We all know avoiding things isn't a good idea and that open, honest communication is important. I'm sure it could have given me a sterile rendition of the same book idea. But that's the place that the passion was born, the nuance, all the creative, unique energy. And it is scary to think that that's going away. And I think we're going to have to come up with some serious boundaries and disciplines, or we're all going to be saying the same thing like little robots ourselves.
I agree. And it really says that we have to now, even as we're talking about it out loud, I'm thinking I'm going to have to really pump the brakes on my desire to reach out to this thing before I process with myself.
Yes.
I think I really want
Good call.
to come up with my best ideas before I consult with this. Because
Yeah.
I can't even say honestly how much I'm being shaped by just its own reactions or feedback.
Well, that's what's scary. And you mentioned when we were chatting before we started recording how Esther Perel, who's, some of you guys may not know her, but if you're in the therapy space and certainly in the relationship therapy space, she's arguably the most famous relationship therapist.
Yeah.
And she, came into the public consciousness around her provocative but really incisive statements about infidelity, the reality of infidelity and its complexities. And I think she's a genius. I love her. I've seen her live. I've done trainings with her. And she has this podcast. What is it? Where should we begin? Where do we begin?
Yeah.
And she's all over the place now, but she has famously led the charge with this and now counseled her first couple, if you will, a man and his AI girlfriend. And I've thought about this as a couples therapist, that this is coming, I already have clients who are going through a breakup. AI is what is getting them through the breakup. And I also think, like your point about Joe, your husband, using it for some emotional regulation. I think breakups are so gut-wrenching that I don't think that's a terrible thing, that you can have some additional support and clarity. At the same time, the thought of somebody coming in here and no longer maybe not getting back into the dating world and saying, you know what, I'm good with Claude. Like, I feel understood here. I feel safe here. You can't get rejected.
You wonder about men, because like I just saw a quote the other day that said the reason young people are having such a hard time with dating is because women want a version of men that don't exist yet, and
I
men
saw
want a
too.
version of women that don't exist anymore.
Anymore.
And I think that men, especially these younger men who are living such synthetic lives anyway, video gaming, porn, all of this poly market and betting, and just like life is very much outsourced on a device, that it makes perfect sense that the logical next step is that their partner is also a synthetic, pleasing female that will like basically tell them anything they want to hear.
Yeah. You know what's so interesting about it for me, and I don't know that it couldn't go there. I need touch. I need human presence. It is not satisfying for me.
No.
It's not satisfying for me at all, like at all. So I don't see it going there for me, but but I'm also not afraid of being vulnerable in relationships. I'm willing, even though I hate it, like everyone does, to be rejected, to put it out there and not get my need met, to not be responded to, right? Like, I want to engage with human beings, and I'm
Same.
definitely not wanting to turn to it for that. But I can see how a lot of people are, and especially if you have been really wounded around relational reaching and responsiveness, and you have not healed those wounds,
Yes.
this is a way to just sidestep all of that risk, but you're also sidestepping the reward. And I'm going to guess that most of our listeners, I don't know, maybe I shouldn't guess. This is my hypothesis, is that most of our listeners are not yet, women at midlife are not yet using this as a sole relational companion, that it's maybe more like us,
The
but that
tool.
yeah, a tool. I think it's younger generations that are really adopting this as an actual relationship. I mean, one of my daughters told me about handling a whole situation where she was struggling with, and that like Claude or ChatGPT like really helped her. And I was like, oh my God. And my daughters are very communicative and people. So I think it's more the younger generation, but it could creep into our generation like so many other things have. And I think you're right. We've got to maybe part of it is not letting it be the first step, letting it be the third or fourth. That's what I'm
Yeah.
trying to do also. Like,
Yeah.
I'm going to gather my thoughts. I'm going to process. I write out my own notes, and then maybe I'll check something out.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It begs the question too, because what I've seen in the younger generation that they're also using, I think everybody's using it this way to a certain level, is to get insights on what another person must be thinking. Especially if you're in the dating world and somebody's rejecting you.
God.
And it's like, is he into me? Should I keep calling?
Okay,
And
that's like what my daughter was talking about.
yeah.
Yeah.
And the
Yeah,
chat's
not
like,
rejection, but yeah,
what
what's
is
the other
better
person?
than
What's
thinking?
yeah.
Well, this is also where I wonder how much our jobs will be, I don't know,
Oh,
outsourced.
people are why I can't believe we haven't even said that yet. People are using it as a
It's a
therapist.
therapeutic tool,
I think it is going to affect people coming to therapy.
which at the rate that therapy has become such like a commodity for people who can afford it, it may be the great equalizer on, access to help, which is sad to say.
I had this young couple come to me. I might have mentioned this in another context on the podcast. And I don't get a lot of young couples. I could probably count on two hands. When I say young, like early 20s, like my
Yeah.
kids' age. Um, you know, cost, whatever. And also like couples therapy. I don't know that most people dating in their early 20s are running to couples therapy, but I've had a few. And I love it when I get to work with younger people. They've been wonderful. Every young couple I've had has been amazing. Like, they're smart, they're astute, they're really they're psychologically curious. They want to be better. They're growth oriented. So I've loved it, and I also learned so much. And it's so fascinating for me to work with people the age of my children from an outside context and to learn how relationships are being approached in this younger generation.
Yeah.
But this one couple came in, and because of AI, they were, armed and ready. They're like, we have our attachment styles. And not only that, we did the adult attachment interview, which I do with all of my couples in their individual sessions. I mean, that's a validated instrument, a psychological instrument for assessing your attachment history. They'd already done that with AI. AI had already told them what old wounds were likely emerging in their current relationship and why, what they needed to work on. And they sent all of it to me. It was fascinating. I mean, I have to say, reading their histories, once I did the interview myself, I came to very similar conclusions.
Yeah.
So it was really interesting to see. And they'd already gotten all of that. And they were like, we want to see if you think the same thing. And then, the relationship already had really ended, and we didn't end up moving forward with couples therapy. It was more like a we're here to break up
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
But it just was so interesting that they'd already gotten so much of what I would do in the initial stage of the process. Now, I don't think a couple is going to get, well, what would be so
Yeah.
interesting? I might do this. Like sit there. I've never thought about this, just to see. Sit there with Steve and like have the audio on Claude and say, act as our couples therapist and like mediate this for us.
Oh my gosh. But see, this is where from a business side, like if you and I aren't thinking like this, somebody else is.
Yep.
And these tools are being harnessed for another level of care. Like it's going to be AI therapy,
Yep.
couples therapy.
And I think it probably already is somewhere
Yeah.
out there. And you're right, it is going to be that. And maybe that will, I think probably that will eventually really change our jobs. I
Mm.
mean, I don't know. All right. So,
Get on board or get run over.
yeah, I mean, I think we have to use it. We have to understand that it's here, but I think we have to be very intentional and careful about how we use it. And, this is really true. Let's just wrap up on this note. While it may change some jobs or affect some relationships, there are always going to be things that human beings only can provide. And I think that relationships, real relationships, there's no substitute for that at the end of the day. What your presence can bring, somebody who comes into our office and is with us in their grief, in their relational distress, and can hear and feel another person's nervous system joining with them and validating them and helping them make sense of their experience. I do think there's always going to be a place
Yeah.
for the
Mirror
personal
neuron.
touch. Yeah, mirror neurons, but also in business. And I think maybe this is the unique advantage is being someone who still has real relational skills because everything else is getting outsourced. And shout out at the 11th hour for trade jobs. Never been a better time to be a plumber,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
He's gonna have to get your toilet unstuck.
Yeah. I mean, it can't fix that yet. Now, maybe a robot will come to your house eventually,
Sure.
probably, and fix your toilet, but we're not there yet. So I think just this is a really interesting topic that we've got to continue to explore, but I think it's really addictive and we've just got to be careful.
I think we do. I mean, I think we have to remember that the things that we do really beautifully as humans, we need to protect. There's that book by Ian McGillichrist that I just absolutely love. And I mean, it's more of a research manual than it is like an actual book, but it's called The Master and His Emissary. And it's really about the right brain versus the left brain. And the idea that the left brain has been so easy to mimic with AI. Like, it's facts, figures, this is stuff that, this is why like people who code and, are out of jobs, they used to be so highly in demand, but we can pretty much manufacture a left
All of
brain.
that. Yep.
But what we can't manufacture is the right brain. And the right brain is where all of our humanity lives. And in his thesis, that is the master, you know,
Yeah.
and that's where we have humor and metaphor and literature and art,
Story and yeah.
story. And so it's like, I think now more than ever, if you're very wired that way, it's an advantage, A, and B, protect it.
Well, good. I should be in good shape because I'm all right brain, I feel
I'm a
like.
writhing right brain. I have like a little left brain that's like a shriveled raisin.
Oh my God. But you know, what it is doing is it's trying to replicate right brain too.
It's trying.
Yeah, and it's a poor substitute for some of that, but it's getting smarter by the minute.
Yes.
And, you know, it's generic. Human beings are nuanced, we're flawed, we're messy. You
Yeah.
know, and that's the beauty of it. So let's make sure we hang on to that. But I want to know what you guys think. We want to hear from you. Reach
Yeah.
out to us. Our email is info@insightsfromthecouch.
Yeah. Insightsfromthecouch.org. How are you using this technology? How is it creeping into your life and the people's lives that you know?
Message us, text us. So many of you guys, there's a million ways to reach us, but you can email us too directly and let us know. info@insightsfromthecouch. And I'd love to just hear what some of your stories are. And if you have questions about this, and maybe we'll talk about this again because it's not going away. All right. Well, thanks for listening. We hope you got some valuable insights from our couch today, and we'll see you next week.
Bye, guys.